Very good. We will call this meeting to order at 6:02 and move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll please join me, rise and place your right hand over your heart. Let's see. And ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And that then takes us to item E1. The public employee discipline dismissal release pursuant to Government Code Section 54957 will not need any action by the board this evening. The after-school site coordinator, employee number 3028, has submitted their letter of resignation effective July 27th, 2020, and the district has accepted the letter of resignation as submitted. Seeing there is no action required on item E1, we will move to community comments on the agenda. And I see two comments.
Four public comments.
Oh, there are four. Okay. Thank you. Okay, beginning with Nikki Ruiz. I will, let's see. They are all in respect to school reopening. So I will go ahead and read the comments in anticipation of the presentation of this evening answering those questions. We will not be responding directly to the comments. And if any remain unanswered, Dr. Holman will be in touch with that individual. Beginning with Nikki Ruiz concerning special education. How are special education services going to be serviced, like speech and OT, occupational therapy? Suzanne Ramirez asks concerning distance learning. Thank you for taking so much time and effort in helping parents understand what to expect and listening to our concerns. Here are my questions. What platform is being used for elementary? Can teachers use their classrooms to work from daily if they want? Is there flexibility for students to view recorded lessons and sessions at a time that works for their family's schedule, as long as work is still turned in on time, if being in class real time is or becomes unfeasible? Even with one-to-one, internet and bandwidth issues can still arise. How much help is available for parents if they need it for virtual academy? And she continues, thank you for all of the information and for trying to accommodate all ways of learning, even if it had to be stopped by state officials. I admired the comment that was brought up about parents choosing what was right for their children. Jacqueline Stalkey, concerning school reopening, her comment, I would like to hear what resolutions the district is proposing to help households that have two full-time working parents, employees that are unable to modify their work schedules and do not have familial support. And the last comment presented by Anonymous concerning school reopening. Will students be required to be on the Zoom for the full school day or even the time suggested, such as 4.5 hours for 5th to 12th grades? Okay. And that then will take us to item H1, Dr. Holman to provide an update to the board regarding the next steps towards school reopening for the 2020-2021 school year. Dr. Holman?
Yeah, thank you, President Behringer. Thank you all the board members here, and welcome to anyone who might be joining us in this virtual board meeting setting. I appreciate the opportunity here to provide updates, and that's really what today is about. I had as I prepared for this, I'm thinking that over the last few times that we've been meeting, times have changed. It seems like almost on a daily basis. Today, what I will say is the design that we talked about last time has not changed. That design remains the same. We might recall that Governor Newsom on July 17th required all districts in the state of California to go to an at-home distance learning, to use his term, right? But an at-home learning design for the start of school years. And that remains. And so I really want to get that out front here, that there's no bombshell that I'm going to be dropping right now in that regard. But what I am proud to say is, boy, I have the pleasure of working with just countless wonderful employees. We have over 1,000 and just good work, if not great work, being done by many that I want to share with all of you in the context of today's presentation. So between the help from everyone who I call the senior cabinet, and that would be Dennis Zimmerman, Alan Miller, Robert Chacon, Nancy Stapp, myself, we've got a presentation that Alan's putting up on the screen. I will say this, that this presentation, as we always have, James Fields, who's our director of, in part, marketing and public relations, as well as our risk management director, he puts this up on the website. So it will be available to everyone, but we'll go through it page by page or slide by slide. We have about 25 of them. It might sound like a lot, but we'll be able to move through them relatively quickly. Certainly, if you have questions, let us know. We've got a question slide at the very, very end. But again, the spirit of today in the first slide, or excuse me, second slide, Alan, we're on the first slide right now, because Alan's going to be helping me with quite a bit, and it goes right to this first outcome of the two. I want to make certain that all of you at the board member, in the board member role, have this collective understanding specific to our at-home learning options, as it says up there, and also what is different specific to what we offered back in March up through June, and what's happening now. Now, there's a lot that has changed, and so we want to make certain that you as board members understand all of that, and then along the way give you all the information specific to the progress that has been facilitated by the wonderful staff members that I get to see do this work on a daily basis, and ensure that you know how we're marching toward, or where we are and how we're marching toward August 17th. And so with those outcomes in mind, I want to start with this notion of defining words on slide 3 here. And Alan did well to create these graphics, and I appreciate what he has done. Now, again, on July 17th, Governor Newsom said that all school districts will engage in distance learning. And this is not a statement about what he himself said. This is a statement about the term distance learning. That is a term that certainly was used from March to June, and we get that was a particular design, not just for Snowline, not just for the state of California, but we heard throughout the nation the challenges that families and students had with that experience. And so we're using a different term to get ourselves away from that term of distance learning, only so that it doesn't bring up this connotation that, well, here we go again in terms of what was experienced last time. We had some great experiences with that, but we're really poised to have even better experiences than we did during those times. And so as Alan goes to the next slide, we'll see this second slide about definitions, about ensuring that the words that we're using are the words that we want to be using, and that we have this collective understanding about what means what. So when we think about the two different designs, we've got at-home learning and in-person learning, right? Those are the two different designs. At-home means just as those two words combined together probably connote, and that is that learning is occurring by a student in his or her home. And then on the other side is in person, whether it be a hybrid design and it's only 2 days a week or 1 day a week, or traditional, as we know, traditional meaning 5 days a week for the full day. In person means that kids would be setting foot on campus. So again, what Governor Newsom said was he uses that term distance learning. We're just changing that to at home. But within at home, I want to drill down there because we have two options for our learning community to choose from, right? The remote school and homeschool. And we've talked about that, but I want to drill down on that again, because homeschool through Snowline Academy has always existed. Remote school is a newer design. In both instances, they fit the bill for at-home learning, where kids will not be coming to campuses. They will be at home, and their learning will be facilitated in two different ways. So, Alan, thanks for that. As we go to the fifth slide here, we're going to revisit two slides that we've shown to you before, and that's purposeful here. This hasn't changed. The two designs, Snowline Academy, it again, I want to remind everyone, this has been in existence for quite a while. They have a long history of success for grades, as it says up there, TK through 12. And when we talk about their defining characteristics, and And President Behringer, I appreciate what you always say with our questions at the beginning. I do write those questions down. I have access to them electronically. And there was a reference to Snowline Academy. So hopefully we'll start to begin to answer some of these questions along the way. And we think about that design. Flexibility is really key about Snowline, right? The parent is the lead here, as we put the learning coach. And there are teachers, as the question I think asked, there are teachers there to support curriculum, provide grading, and any other support that they can provide in the context of the parent leading in a true homeschool design, the learning for their for their child. Now, you see up there that honors classes have been added, and that's something that I want to make certain that everyone knows that Snowline Academy has done so many wonderful things. It's NCAA approved, has so many great qualities that many other homeschools we just don't see, right? Well, they've added honors courses this year, so we want to make certain that everyone knows about that, and that commitment, we ask that that's a semester-long commitment. That's a unique situation where consistency is required, and so know that that's one of those options that we have available. And then on the next slide, as Alan will show you as we turn there to slide 6, you've seen this one before too, but we'll drill down a lot on this one here tonight because this is the newer design. We're calling it remote school, right? We shared it last time. Remote school means, as it's underlined, this is really key, that kids are connected to their school site and a teacher assigned to them as they normally would in an in-person design. But again, they're not coming to school. They're staying at home, the remote school, tied to a teacher, and that the learning is guided by that teacher as connected to their place of enrollment. And the accountability we're going to really drill down on, specific to attendance and grades and feedback, are all required on a regular daily basis with remote school, and we'll be there for ourselves and for the learning community. Absolutely, it's aligned to the same curriculum that kids would be getting if they were setting foot on campus. And technology, you're going to learn more about that. And it was asked, I think, or alluded to, what about technology? Devices are going to be provided to kids, access for families to ensure that they've got the ability to get online and have the bandwidth, as was mentioned in that question earlier, to ensure success. I also want to bring attention to the idea of consistency for parents. Now, not only will we be providing various levels of training that you'll hear from Alan a little bit later for our parents to hopefully up the level of success for them, but getting a regular schedule out to ensure that, it's good practice that our wonderful teachers do on a regular basis in person. That'll translate over to our remote school to ensure that the expectations for kids are the same as parents, and so that parents can then in turn, knowing the schedule and being creatures of habit. If they're like me, we like that routine, and we know in the research that when there is a routine, that success increases for kids. So that will be present, as well as this notion when it's ready, and that line is really key. When the time is right, and we're a ways from that time being right, based on the California Department of Public Health, as well as our local San Bernardino County Department of Public Health. When the time is right relative to COVID-19 conditions, that capacity to return to in-person, there should be a nice seamless transition with the requisite amount of time that will pass between now and then. But that direction from Senate Bill 98 is really key. And that's really a transitional point in just a moment when we'll go to Alan, because we really want to drill down on that. There's a lot of great guidance in there and requirements and mandates, in my opinion, that are informing our school reopening that you're going to hear about in just a moment. But Alan, if you don't mind now, love to turn you over to slide 7, because that's going to be your time now. He's the real expert in this area amongst our senior cabinet to talk about this transition from distance learning in the old ways to remote school and even homeschool ties into this as well. Thanks, Alan.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Good evening, everybody. Like Ryan said, this Senate Bill 98 is really the guiding document, guiding rules and regulations for us to stay in compliance, but more importantly, deliver a quality remote school program to our students. I'm going to read this first slide verbatim just to kind of get you in the mix here. SB 98 defines distance learning, remote school, or at-home school, as instruction in which the pupil and instructor are in different locations and pupils are under the general supervision of a certificated employee of the local educational agency. Got some ed code that ties directly into that. Moving on, we have some pretty chunky pieces here of our guidance. And I'm going to go directly to some of these highlights and build context as needed. But just wanted to, go to that first highlighted area. Access for all pupils. Now that goes to the technology access that we think most commonly of, and being devices issued to each one of our students and guaranteed connectivity to internet at their homes. So we've got a lot of things that will be spoken about a little bit later on to ensure that for each one of our families. We're aware that challenges can still come up as far as multiple devices within the same household being on. So there might be challenges that we have to navigate along the way. But we've got the great technology team, and we're prepared to navigate those challenges as they come up. Aligned to grade level standards. Another important strong point. This is not supplemental learning. Once again, this is compulsory learning, required learning, just business as usual in an unusual way, if you will. But students are going to have access to grade level standards just like they would be, just like they would in the traditional brick and mortar classrooms. Equivalent in-person instruction, or equivalent to in-person instruction. Ryan alluded to that earlier. We have to have a program that, although we have to get creative in its delivery and understand the complexities of a different learning platform, we have to make sure that what students have access to and what they're learning out of their homes is equivalent to what they would gain in the classroom. Address the needs of pupils who are performing below grade level. This is always one that I'm very passionate about. I've spoken to all of you about it before. I really worry about that widening learning gap as we move forward in a remote school model. We have to really pay very close attention to not only the amount of support and instruction that we're providing all of our students across the district, but we really have to drill down and get surgical with our students that are at risk academically to ensure that they have access to the remediation and support that they need from their teachers. Going on to the next highlighted area, special education. I really appreciated that earlier comment that came up in community comments. We have a lot of things in place right now, led by Lori Delgado, our Director of Special Services, in which to think differently about special education services as they're delivered, but to find out the ways that we can go ahead and overcome and differentiate in the absence of a physical learning environment. Going on to same thing, very passionate about English language development. We have a significant population within our school district of English language learners. We want to ensure, and we will ensure, that those English language development supports as both as integrated and designated English language development instruction are available to our students. Once again, not to allow those learning gaps to widen during this time of remote learning. And then over here, the last little highlighted area, daily live instruction. That was neither boldened or underlined by me. That is the way that it was delivered to us in the language of the Senate bill. So this is not only important, but it is required that students participate in a daily live interaction with their teachers on a daily basis. Going on to the next slide here, once again, looking at our highlighted areas, required to document daily participation for each pupil. This is an area in which we're struggling, but collaborating on, trying to figure out exactly what this is going to look like so that it's consistent across the school district. It keeps us beyond reproach as far as compliance is concerned, and more importantly, it ensures the attendance and participation of our students on a daily basis. we're not the only ones struggling how to to figure this out. Those at higher levels, such as the state, have not been able to clearly define what this should look like. It's kind of that old cliche as far as building an airplane in the air. That's exactly what's happening up on the hill. But we're determined to get out front and figure out the best way to do this. And if anything, we're determined not only to meet the minimal requirement, but even to go that extra step, just to ensure that we're accounting for our student attendance and participation at a higher level than what's required. Going into evidence of participation, not only are students, are we required to account for students in some kind of attendance model, but we also have to be ready to produce evidence of their participation, whether that's graded work or other artifacts that show that students are actively participating in their learning in this remote model. Next highlighted area, contact between LEA and the pupil or parent guardian. The parents are truly going to be our most important partner in this endeavor. We need their participation. We need their support. And boy, I empathize and, really feel for the parents that are facing severe challenges right now as far as what they have to do in regards to employment responsibilities, et cetera, and maybe not having that luxury of being at home to support their children at this time. I'm fortunate enough to have an older high school student that can be independent at home and be successful on her own. I don't have little kids anymore. So I'm giving you guys examples like this because we have to be at the ready to support those families, be ready to partner with them and help them to be successful, ensuring their own students, their own children are successful in learning at home. Just to extend that a little bit more, I'm going to be working with Deb Peace, our instructional technology teacher on special assignments. She's so good at creating these learning environments with our staff members as far as technology learning, instructional technology learning. I'm going to work with her to make sure that we're offering some parent learning platforms as well so that we can reach out in a virtual manner and support our parents and offer recommendations that they can use to be successful learning coaches at home. Okay, weekly engagement record. This all ties into what we've talked about previously. We can use tools such as Aries. We can use other grading record-keeping tools to document that student engagement, whether it's completed assignments, attendance, participation, what have you. But it's going to be very important that we formally document this participation in an engagement record of some sort. And we're working across the district to make sure that we have some form of consistency across the board so that looks maybe not identical from site to site and from teacher to teacher, but at least similar. Synchronous and asynchronous learning. Very important terms. I'm sure that you've heard them before. I'm sure we've mentioned them to you before. Synchronous learning is that live instruction. Okay, let's pretend for a moment that I'm the teacher, you're the class. This would be a synchronous learning environment. I'm delivering a lesson to you about SB 98. So that's an example of synchronous learning. If I were to take the same information, record myself, and give you working definitions and an understanding of the same, that would become asynchronous learning. It would be a link that I would provide to you and be something you could click onto at your leisure and learn about the same thing. That's the difference there. There's also many other examples of asynchronous learning when that student is actively learning but not engaged in an interaction with the teacher in the virtual classroom. Verifying daily participation and tracking assignments. We've already mentioned that. We've made reference to the weekly engagement record and other forms of collecting artifacts to prove and demonstrate that student participation and ultimately that student learning. I've got those definitions built into the slideshow just to remind you, because I know it is easy to confuse sometimes with the synchronous, asynchronous learning, but you'll have access to this Google slide presentation with those working definitions. Okay, simple bullet here. A pupil who does not participate daily in either in-person instruction or distance learning shall be deemed absent. Plain and simple. So once again, that just really emphasizes or reiterates the importance of accounting for student participation in learning on a daily basis. And we will be stressing this, with our teachers, with our site leaders, to ensure that this is happening, since it is very critical, most importantly for the student learning and participation itself, but also that accountability, that compliance piece to ensure that we are getting the funding that's due to us to keep the lights on. Written procedures for tiered engagement strategies. This is to really address, put your head around all the efforts that have gone on in ensuring that we're working to reducing the chronic absenteeism rate. This is just really the same focus in a virtual setting here. These written procedures for tiered re-engagement strategies would be used if we notice that a student has been absent for 3 days within a school week, 60%. We will have a formal process that will reach out to that family, find out, hopefully diagnose the problem. What's the reason for non-participation or lack of participation? How can we support you? What can we do to raise that level of engagement there? Verification of current contact information. This would just tie into that tiered re-engagement strategy. We need to have that accurate contact info so that we can provide those bridges of support to the families and get them re-engaged in the learning process. Daily notification to parents or guardians of absences. Plan for outreach. So that's something that Kirk Strickland's working on with his team in collaboration with all of us to formalize that process once again, to promote that consistency across the district and make sure that we have something effective that re-engages these families in this challenging time. I've referenced it before. We've got a lot of control in the physical classroom, not so much control in this virtual environment. So we're going to have to work even harder to keep that level of engagement up. Next slide, learning continuity and attendance plan. Some people like to refer to this as the new LCAP. I don't. I'm just going to call it the learning continuity and attendance plan. This is going to be a formal document that we're going to be preparing beginning almost immediately. The finalized document should be released from CDE by this Friday. We're going to start off by really building that budget that we're going to be working with, especially a lot of federal funds that have been granted to us to help shore up these or to shore up our remote learning model, whether that being resources, technology, hotspots. And we're going to be building those budgets into this plan. And of course, building narratives of what that plan will look like over time as long as we're in this remote school setting. This one is very important. I pulled it directly off of the draft of the learning continuity and attendance plan, the mental health and social and emotional well-being. This is being called out as a very important item, and I would concur 100%. We're going to be, left to provide a description of how our LEA will monitor and support mental health and social and emotional well-being of pupils and staff during the school year, including any professional development and resources that will be provided to pupils and staff to address the trauma and other impacts of COVID-19 on the school community. And we know that there's a lot out there. A lot of people have been totally uprooted from the norm, things that we've taken for granted, being able to go to brick and mortar schools, being able to get that social emotional support on a daily basis, or at least on school days. And, there's a lot of fallout from this for both of our children and our staff members. So we want to make sure that we're at the ready, which we are. Care Solis is a prime example of a wonderful tool, a wonderful resource that's going to be used to render to our students and to our staff members in order to really focus on this. Because for our students and for our staff to truly be at their best, we need to make sure that their mental health and social and emotional well-being is in check. And that, if we want to take a brief pause before we go on to the next section, is there any questions or points of clarity that I can help out with before moving on to some formal training? Okay. All right. Well, moving on. Training and PD schedule for the first week. I've marked tentative in there because some of the times and possibly the days, I don't think so, are subject to change. Ryan, before we move on to the specifics, is there anything that you wanted to call out on this particular schedule?
No, nothing per se on the schedule, other than to say just really appreciative of the board supporting the idea of moving back the date of starting school to Monday, August 17th, to allow for what Alan's going to talk about, and that's preparing our learning community, specifically our staff members, for readiness to deliver what Alan just shared and will continue to share. So words of thanks. Thanks for allowing me to say that, Alan.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'll just piggyback on that gratitude right there, because there have been a lot of sighs of relief across the district, knowing that we have the luxury of a little bit more time to ready ourselves for this challenging endeavor. So
Mr. Miller, I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm interested in participating in some of this PD. How can I gain access?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, President Behringer. I always appreciate how much you do jump into these trainings and volunteer to participate. I'll make sure that you or any of the other board members have access to any of the things that we talk about, and I'll make sure that we have enough spots available to accommodate all of you. So
wonderful. Thank you.
Moving on to certificated training, Tuesday, August 11 and Wednesday, August 12. Want to just preface all of this by saying that we didn't want to overwhelm the teachers during that first week of school with too many days tied up, understanding that this will require a lot of both personal and collaborative planning to be successful when we're ready to open our doors, our virtual doors on the 17th. But we wanted to make sure that we still offer them enough foundational training that will put them in a good place of confidence and capacity, skill level, that they feel that they at least have a place to grow from and feel that they can confidently navigate that first day of school, and also and then ultimately get better over time as they enhance their individual virtual learning practices. We've got two items here. Tuesday, August 11th. I want to say that we made a change here on this first day of professional development. This first day was supposed to be set up for Kagan originally, our Kagan Day 2, which you graciously approved back in the day. We do appreciate that, and we're excited at some point to continue that training. At this time, although the folks at Kagan would have done a good job in tailoring their training to a virtual world, giving us even more skills and strategies to engage students online. We just didn't feel that was the best use of time. And when I say we, it's not just me, it's a collective we, and that includes teachers. I put out a training message yesterday or an email regarding the potential professional development that was going to be coming out. And Kagan, as of last night, was still on the docket for that. Some teachers that I know and respect reached out to me, praising Kagan as a whole, but also making the point that they feel that their training time needs to be more focused on that virtual learning environment of how to deliver a meaningful and rich virtual learning environment to their students. So I reflected. I collaborated with both administrators and teachers. I met virtually with quite a number of teachers today on their vacation. And we talked about this, and they were so appreciative that we were able to pull something off the shelf. And I don't mean that cheaply. It's a very high quality, and substitute that Kagan Day with something that's even going to push them farther along the continuum of learning in regards to remote school. So with that being said, that's pretty heavy duty preface there. EdTech team, company that we're bringing in, comes highly endorsed by Deb Peace, once again, our instructional technology teacher on special assignment. And they were able to accommodate us with a customized virtual workshop sessions for Snowline on that day. This is going to be really rich. It's going to be broken down by grade level bands. So when I say that, I mean a primary band of grades TK through 2, an intermediate elementary band, grades 3 through 5, a middle school band, and a high school band. So it's going to be very tailored to those grade levels, and it's going to help us to achieve a middle ground in which we can grow together. So for instance, we'll be speaking the same language. We'll have an equitable set of tools to start off with. Granted, there might be some teachers that are a lot further out just because they've been such techies for a long time. So they're going to be out there. But it's going to put all of us on more of an even playing field in being able to offer quality online instruction to our students. So we have a prescribed list or a tentative list of trainings that these various grade level band teachers will be participating in. But Deb helped me vet it today. We're going to be in contact with the rep tomorrow to finalize it and be ready to deliver it to our teachers on the 11th. On Wednesday, August 12th, same team, EdTech team. We were lucky enough to have our week of preparation fall on a week where they're doing an EdTech team summit. And I'll pull that up just briefly here. This is a summit in which, I'm sorry. Let me see. I'm having a little difficulty here. Oh, here we go. Okay, this is the link online that describes their summit. This is going to be more of a list of breakout sessions that the teachers can choose from to meet their specific interests and needs. They'll be able to participate in 4 breakout sessions out of 30 plus sessions, but then they will be able to keep an archive of every one of the sessions for the remainder of the school year, so they can go back to one's breakout sessions that they participated in, or even those breakout sessions that they did not participate in that might provide value to growing their practice as we move forward. So this is the website here. It gives some areas. It talks about blended learning for beginner sessions. It goes into remote learning. Both blended and remote learning will be quite appropriate for our teachers, being that they'll be real powerful tools that they can pull out of all sessions. And I'm going to just go ahead and pull up an event schedule really quick. And this is This is listed for the 29th and 30th, but actually this will be the same workshop that'll be offered on the 12th of August. So there'll be a number of breakout sessions. It gives little descriptors. You can even click in and get more of a description of the classes and what it's offering. So they'll be participating in 4 1-hour blocks or breakout sessions, and then once again have access to the entire archive after that. What I'm excited about is that that first day on the 11th is going to provide such a good foundation for them that they're going to be a lot more savvy and acute when it comes to picking their breakout sessions on the subsequent day. So with both the August 11th and 12th, I truly believe that this is going to put our folks in a lot better place, both confidence and aptitude-wise, to move forward with the remote learning model. So thank you for looking at that. And then last thing, just wanted to draw attention to a document that's going to be a really good guiding document for us as we move forward with remote learning, because once again, we're all learning together. So I wanted to draw you to this link, National Standards of Quality. And this is a website. Once again, I really take Deb Peace's endorsements very, very much to heart. And this is a great website. It offers a national standards for quality online teaching. And I won't get too deep into this, but just wanted to show you an example of what these standards look like. We have Standard A, professional responsibility, B, digital pedagogy, community building, learner engagement, digital citizenship, diverse instruction, assessment and measurement, and instruction design. And when you have the time to navigate this document during your free time, I would encourage you to do so. Then you'll get into each one of the standards. It'll not only give a really good descriptor of each standard, but it'll give you some tangible examples as well. So once again, a valuable guiding document. And that takes us to at-home learning and enrollment. So Ryan, I'll turn it back to you.
Thanks so much, Alan. These next 6 slides, I will be quick with these because these are just common questions we've had that seems like is out in the learning community. How does this work? What's happening? So real quickly, the notion of at-home learning and how kids are enrolled. They're automatically enrolled, meaning this. If a student was in 3rd grade at Phelan Elementary School, a student's going to 4th grade, that student remains. And so automatically enrolled in remote school. Same thing as that bullet says in terms of matriculation. If the student is in 5th grade last year at Phelan Elementary School and would normally matriculate to Pena Mesa, that student is on that roster. Nothing needs to be done. What needs to be done is that last bullet. If people are making changes to and from Snowline Academy, meaning I'm a student at Phelan Elementary School, and I want to enroll in Snowline Academy, or the reverse, I'm in Snowline Academy, want to go to Phelan Elementary School, fill in the blank with those other schools from Phelan, change those. Then what we ask is people contact Snowline Academy and that school involved to make that change. But again, the overall overriding message here is nothing needs to be done in terms of enrolling kids if they were with us and ended the school year last year. And that content on that slide is lifted right from one of my regular communications that I send out to our parents and families. On the next slide is another common question relative to enrollment, and that's what about new kids? And so Alan goes to slide 18, which you'll see there on that next slide, is the idea of our centralized new student enrollment process. And I'll say this, it's done through our main offices here. So you see the address there. And I say that because we have hard copies located outside, right? We're in a COVID-19 environment. And so we've got hard copies that people can come and get. But there's that online option on the website, www.snowlineschools.com, for students, new students to get their information into our system. Kirk Strickland and his colleagues are doing super work up there in terms of getting kids enrolled in this COVID-19 environment. So centralized to facilitate a safe environment and also speed up the process. So please get that word out to anyone who is new to our district, wasn't with us last year, to go through the online option or come and get that hard copy outside of our buildings at 4075 Nielsen Road. This third slide that we'll see on number 19, Alan, references the notion of technology. There was a question, right, about bandwidth and so forth. Again, Chromebooks to all students. There'll be a process in the week before school starts for kids to get their Chromebooks. We're at that one-to-one level. Thanks to Rick Hernandez for facilitating that. Robert Chacon, Andrea Padilla at the business office making that happen. We've got plenty of hotspots for those families in need where they don't have reliable internet service. We've got those hotspots that there'll be a process for getting those in the hands of families too, so that kids can engage in the at-home learning design that Alan just shared quite a bit of great information on. And know again, more information will be coming to everyone in terms of which days those will be distributed, but know that they're at the ready. So hopefully that calms some people who don't have either a device or reliable service. We've got that for them certainly. To ensure success of all kids. The fourth slide, Alan, of these questions here that are commonly coming up is food services. And know that those meals for the students absolutely have happened in normal situations. They have happened in superhero-like ways by Food Nutrition Services led by Tony Chafee, but all of the staff members who did a wonderful job delivering almost 250,000, almost 250,000 meals to our learning community, or being in a grab and go model, and distribution will happen on all sites. Details still need to be provided, just like many things here, but I want to make people aware that yes, meals will be provided even in an at-home learning environment. Look for more details coming up, but hopefully they can rest assured that food will be coming their way and will be made available, I should say, and look forward for details on that one at all school sites. And then, Alan, the fifth of the six ones that I'm just going through is communications, and you see the word contact there. We're reaching out on all of our ways that we do to ensure that we get district messaging, but site messaging is coming out now too, right? Those offices, while not open like they normally are due to COVID-19, still the messaging is there and will continue. Go to the websites for details, but also know that you can call. You can call in and get someone on the other end of the line. I'm one who likes that, right? I know other people like that. Maybe don't like to go through a website or have specific questions. Contact all the school offices because they'll be opening up next week, and we'll have that time for families to get maybe specific questions answered as need be. We need to be communicating. We've got the ways to do that, and that will continue hopefully to a level just in front of ad nauseum, right, to ensure that everyone has the information that they need. And lastly, Alan, I want to bring out, talking about communications, there's another town hall coming up. We had a good experience on the first one. Thanks to everyone who made that work out there. Just hundreds and hundreds of people who gave us questions. This one's going to be focused on at-home learning. Certainly we'll answer any questions specific to the coming school year, but we want to focus. Our thought is that we can give the details on at-home learning so that everyone knows what to expect. That's Tuesday, August 4th. You see that from 4:30 to 6. Rick Hernandez, James Fields, Nancy Stabb just did so well to facilitate all the background necessary technological items to make the first one work very well. It really informed us as to how we can help our community. We're looking for the same here, and hopefully our community will get answers and know that Dennis Zimmerman, Alan Miller, and Robert Chacon will join me in answering those questions on that day. And then we just get to our end here. And as we end, you hear me say it time and again. I think there's no more important time for us to be working together. I've been saying it forgive me, for years. I'm a believer in it. You see this quote, it's right out front on a banner. Thanks to Jerry Schlosser and Tracy Wilson, who do this wonderful job of facilitating powerful message. And Dawson and his team put up these banners in front of the office. And this is one that's out there right now that I think is so very relevant to us moving forward collectively to ensure that we get these kids what they always deserve. And that's a Snowline education, this wonderful education, but in the most challenging times. We've got to come together, as it says it's the beginning. But keeping together is progress, but working together is and will be success for our kids, as per Edward Everett Hale. So just a reminder there, the last slide's questions. We'll certainly answer any and all questions. We're hoping though that this was helpful. So you can see the great work being done by my colleagues here throughout the district to get ourselves ready as we will continue to do leading up to August 17th, this coming next month. So back to you, President Behringer. I hope that was helpful. And then again, we'll be at the ready to answer any questions as need be.
Great. Thank you very much for that presentation. I had a quick question concerning the fact that students generally spend, 6 hours a day at school. How is the equivalency handled with the online remote learning?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we'll get my colleagues again to help in all of these. I'll give you the quick overview though on that there, President Behringer. That's a very powerful question. Those times have been adapted, and we've allowed for the expertise of our sites to be able to create those schedules to ensure that those kids are getting not only what they need, but to do so in a realistic design, because you said it well. We can't have kids on computers for 6 hours straight and then have to break away and do the work, right? Even Senate Bill 98, which you can hear, maybe I'll turn this over to Alan, even accounts for time with assignments that are specific to the requirements in accounting for time. So Alan, maybe that'll be the cue, because you're our SB 98 expert, and you can maybe springboard off of what I just said in terms of daily interactions and contact, as well as assignments that account for that.
Yeah, my pleasure. The one thing about SB 98, it doesn't go out of its way to quantify, but rather to qualify what that learning should look like, which I do appreciate, having that latitude. But we just need to make sure that we take that latitude and set some very specific expectations and what that actually looks like across the district. Like Ryan says, there's no way that we can expect students to spend 46 hours on a computer, on a device. Goodness knows, I've had to do it at times, and I'm fried at the end of that. So we have to make sure, and our teachers are very capable of doing this, that they're setting the stage for that learning. They're providing the direct instruction and the front loading that's necessary, but that they are able to create those meaningful learning experiences for students, so that when the students do disconnect, it just doesn't become what all too often we've seen in the past of that very low level learning. Something that is deeper, that's meaningful, that students can get into and hopefully really gain momentum and ownership of their own learning as they're doing that. But there should definitely be a quantity of time for learning overall, but we just have to be mindful, both from a student developmental standpoint, as well as a level of health in regards to the amount of screen time that we're requiring them to participate in.
So there's no district standard. Is there going to be a grade level standard, or is it up to each individual teacher how that's quantified?
No, very, very good question. Once again, that's something that we need to collectively look at across the district with our district leaders and teachers, and also at a site level. But like I told the group of teachers today, and they were very much in agreement, we have to have a similar expectation across the district, and a similar expectation on a site, a similar expectation from classroom to classroom, because we know that our consumers, our families, they talk, right? And we want to make sure that first and foremost, it's the right amount of time for students. But then again, it is very consistent across the board, so that I know if I have my students in Mrs. Behringer's class and you have your students in Dr. Holman's class, that we're talking apples to apples.
Yeah, and thanks for saying that, Alan. If I may jump in, President Behringer, and that began on Monday. Our principals came back Monday morning, and they had a meeting with us Monday morning. That dialogue was just amongst other topics that we've even discussed today, was along those lines. And so Alan said it very well. And I appreciate this question too, because I think it relates to maybe the last public comment too. And I think that was from a student to say what to expect. And what they will expect is the good work of the administrators with the teachers to get consistent outcomes along what you just asked about, so that they have these routines, and so that they can count on day by day a consistent delivery of instruction in a context of time, so that they can be successful, because it's what we owe kids for sure. And so credit to our leaders who will be working with our teachers, and Alan already started that with teachers already. So great question. Thanks for asking that, because I think it applies to that public comment.
I appreciate that we're receiving input from the principals and the teachers. Can you inform me as to what that structure looks like? Do you have a task force of individuals that are helping to inform those decisions?
What I can tell you is it's going to be the teachers going, excuse me, I don't know why I said teachers, the administrators, right? Going back and working with their teachers, because here's the strength of what all of you have supported for many years. We think about the PLC process, right? The power in a PLC process, right? And amongst many things is those groups getting together and determining what's best for their block of kids. And that will be that structure that will play itself out at the district level, as well as at the site level. And we have a meeting again tomorrow, I think, Alan, and this will be among the topics, I believe, right, Alan? Yeah, I think a head was nodding on that one. Yeah, thanks, Alan.
Are there other questions from the board members?
Yes, I have a few that just occurred to me while you were doing the presentation. This one, the first one here is about secondary. So I'm thinking you've got these different classes going on, and is there, maybe this is a nuts and bolts question, but synchronous learning, how do you keep synchronous learning from, let's say you got 2 or 3 different classes, and how can one synchronous class happen during another synchronous class? How can a kid split himself up into 2 pieces if that happens? Is it going to be recorded so that he can see the class discussion if has another class? Say he's got a class of 9 and his English teacher is doing synchronous at 9 and the history's doing synchronous at 9. How's it going to be in both places at once? Is it going to be recorded so they can watch it? That was one thing that occurred to me. How do you maintain quality control? Will you be able to identify teachers that are doing just some amazing stuff? And I mean, you can't just like walk around everybody's classroom and take a peek inside to see if they're getting quality instruction. So I'm curious how you do that quality control. And then lastly, what does a PE teacher do? Are they going to do PE classes and do yoga or something on TV or shop classes, band, choir, ag classes, medical classes, those hands-on classes? What does that look like remotely?
Yeah, three generally it sounds like they're member calling 3 general huge questions that are powerful ones. Let me try to start from the beginning. So that first one's schedule, and I'll go in and out on getting to all of them. Member Cologne, because I'm going to get some help here from Dennis Zimmerman, who's been doing some really good work at the high school level with that master scheduling. So really, a master schedule still applies at that high school level for the reasons that you talked about. And you'll see really coming soon, but Dennis can speak to the work that's being done to be able to do exactly what you're talking about. How do we build processes and a schedule so that what you described happens as little as possible, so that kids have the same experience theoretically, if you will, specific to what you asked about in an at-home design as they would with in person. So Dennis, can you talk about the work that's already been done, but still work to be had? I wanted to certainly clarify that piece.
Now, we've been looking at a variety of options all month long, and had to make quite a quick course correction when we moved from our 3-option design to this 2-option all remote or homeschool design. But Serrano High School has been meeting as a large staff, certificated leadership staff, within the teacher group, classified staff, as well as their principal, assistant principals, deans, to try and figure that out. Same thing going on at other secondary schools in that they're looking for ways. It's very potentially going to look more like a block schedule during the week, because Steve, if we were to say there's a 6-period day and every teacher is going to teach their regular class during the 6-period days, we are now doing what we just told you we don't think is a great idea, and that's putting kids on devices for, a 6-hour day. So it's going to have to look unique and different, but the schools are looking at schedules and calendars to where students are not double booked. Even to the degree, things came up today. How do we do that to where meal pickups at the curb do not overlap with classroom synchronous instruction, and that be for elementary, middle, and high school? So there's still a lot of work going into this, because every day new things come up that's like, oh, we hadn't quite thought about that yet. And the more heads we get together, and it's really the people doing the work, it's important. We've been with the STA negotiation team for 3 of the last 4 work days. We were together 2 days last week, and we were together again today. And the ideas coming out of that group, and they're ready to roll. It's going to be a strong program while we wait to transition safely back into a hybrid and or in-person learning when that time comes in the future.
Yeah, Dennis, thanks for adding to that. And then when we go to number 2, there, remember, Colum, if I understood you correctly, and that was kind of an accountability piece. I think you referenced specific to administrators and getting into lessons and seeing instruction. So getting into lessons would be joining these types of settings now, right? And so I'll just, with apologies to the Bedells, because I feel like I always use this example, but I visited a number of them during from March to June, and both Katie Bedell as an elementary school teacher and Matt Bedell as a high school AP teacher. In both classes, I struggled on the content, by the way, but I had a great experience. And I say that because there were 2 doing some great things. And I bring that up because there were so many great things happening that will translate over, but the capacity for me to be in there, I could witness that. I could see that. I could be part of that, and even struggle with not only the AP senior English class, but the 5th grade math class too. So again, it would be our hope that as we work through the processes of all these details that Dennis is facilitating the working conditions and negotiations, and so that'll be part of those conversations. Are how can we work out what would normally exist in a remote context? But just wanted to share with you the great experience I had that I appreciated for sure, because it provided me a lot of context. And then the last one, Dennis, anything you want to share on that I might have missed? Sorry, before I move on to the third one.
No, because again, some of that's still in process, and bargaining groups are going to get an opportunity later this week to share, what's been happening at the table with their groups before I would spill that beans publicly in a meeting like this. Been in communication with them throughout the day, both CSEA and STA.
Yeah, appreciate that there for sure, Dennis. So thanks for that. And then the third one was, gosh, such a great question too. And that was, I heard you talk about PE, and maybe I could lump into that lab classes as well as CTE. So I'm going to harken back to a meeting I had at the end of last week. As Dr. Kelly Williams walked in my office. We were socially distanced, by the way, and she was about 10 feet away with our masks on. Not socially, but physically distanced. And she had the same exact question. To be quite frank, I give her a lot of credit. She said, "Gee, I don't have the answers, but we're working on that." That's one example of, I think, many. We don't have those answers yet, but we've got the right people working on that. We're going to have to find ways to replicate as best we can in an at-home electronic design, member Colum. But also, I want to think forward here, because who knows how long it will be in the design that will start. But what there has been discussion about at the state level, right? And again, I want to be really clear that we're not close to this, but at the state level, there've been talk about special groups being able to come back when the state government allows us to do that, when that county government allows us to do that, special groups to come back for specific reasons. So thinking forward, maybe that could be a design. And I want to be really clear, maybe that could be a design that those smaller groups could come back all that is to say, work to be done for sure. You ask a really powerful question that we don't have the exact answer on all of those areas. PE, I would argue, would be that there are already solutions moving down the pike much more so than, say, the CTE, but all of those solutions will be forthcoming. Hard questions, but again, I think I've said before, if I'm to bet on anyone, I'm going to bet on Snowline's community here for sure. So hopefully that got to the three questions that you asked for now, knowing that there'll be more information forthcoming. Member Colon.
Member Funk, your questions?
Just a couple of quick questions. Where can students find tutoring? A lot of parents are going to need help. Is there going to be any parent training, especially on the new equipment that's coming and on the lessons? That's all I got.
You say that's all you got, but you've got two great ones there for sure. Maybe I'll go backward. Alan, we just had this conversation about parent training. Maybe, or was it yesterday? I'm losing track of the time. But Alan, can you share with, share maybe the good news as our commitment is relative to parent training that's in development?
Yes, certainly, Ryan. Just once again, Deb Peace is going to work with me to establish a number of parent workshops to meet their needs, and just to offer a forum for Q&A, and also give some tangible tips on how to support their children at home, especially on the technology side of the house. Just on the remote school side of the house, just remember that the teachers will be leading that instruction, and they'll be very observant when it comes to any kind of deficits that comes with using technology, and be able to render that support as well, either real time or reaching out to the parents to provide tips of how to shore up those technology deficits once again. So we've got that going, but it's going to be important. Once again, we need to have a strong partnership with our parents to help them out. And you asked about the tutoring. That was a great question, and I want to give a shout out to our friend and former Snowline colleague Michelle Steinman. I've got her phone number right here. I won't show it to the screen. She's a great person. She reached out personally to me yesterday saying, "Hey, what can I do? Does Snowline Academy need any kind of tutoring, or does NTS?" She also reached out to Chad Brooks, the principal of non-traditional schools, to reach out just in a very selfless way, and to offer any support as we deem appropriate moving forward. And that's just one example of the number of people that we have out here that would offer such services. But we don't have a real solidified plan in regards to tutoring outreach, but I'm sure that's something that will organically grow as we move forward with both volunteers and in-house folk.
Thanks, Alan. I would just add to that. I really appreciate that message that you gave to us relative to Michelle Steinman. Many thanks to her. But we think about the designs that we had in person, right? And so how do we translate all of the students who volunteer for tutoring up at Serrano High School, Heritage School, right? So there's one, I think, question that we need to answer for ourselves, how that can be converted, Member Funk, into a virtual / electronic design, just much like we're talking about now. And then I don't want to forget just the great work of teachers in general. I know over time I've gotten used to, in my, gosh, I guess I'm starting year 27 here, and so my 26 years here, that there are so many teachers who put forth gigantic effort to lift up kids. So they would do that maybe before school, after school. So what does that look like now in, again, the setting you're talking about? So it's a great question to promote that conversation. And I'm going to, again, bet on Snowline that we're going to come up with some solutions. So thank you for putting, not that it wasn't on our radar per se, but to remind us of that. Really appreciate that, Member Funk. Thank you.
Member Hernandez, you had questions?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. Following up to Member Colum's question, am I mistaken, or do I understand the PE model currently is that's entirely waived by the state in terms of requirement on hours, or any such requirement on our part to provide that?
It's interesting they bring that up because, I can have Alan talk about those things because he's our expert there. But I want to talk about what is already going on. And Dennis, tell me if you want to jump in on this too, because you've had some experience with this, right? With PE teachers reaching out to Dennis and saying, hey, this is what we're endeavoring to do, already building for kids. Dennis, do you want to speak to that just real quickly? Because I think that's relevant, first of all. And then we can talk, myself and Alan can talk about that second part to Member Hernandez's question.
Sure. A couple weeks back, I had a PE teacher, leadership teacher, reach out to me, sharing things that were being done this summer in anticipation of, at some point in time, being back in remote learning this year. No decisions have been made at that point. The governor hadn't made his bombshell announcement from a few Fridays ago, but PE leaders were anticipating it. So we're trying to get that up and running. It is true that the state waived minimum PE minutes, but the state did not waive physical education. The state did not waive physical education staff members. And so, we believe that physical education is still important. And so we will be looking to our PE teachers to provide that in a variety of ways. Secondary level, it's going to be a lot easier to work it into the schedule. Elementary level is going to take a little more creativity because those teachers came alongside of the elementary teachers, not a separate, in a sense, period built into a day like it is in the secondary schedules where they can make it a part of their master block schedule if they go that route or however they do that. I keep saying, tomorrow never comes, but at the same point in time, August 10, when teachers are back with us and doing this, is coming, and August 17th, when the schools are back, or students are back, is coming, and everybody is working harder, really harder than they've ever worked before. Not a lot of summer breaking has gone on, this summer amongst our classified staff, certificated staff, and leadership group. So it's in progress, and we're going to make sure it happens because it is still very important that we get out there and move, and much, much more of what physical education teachers do, because it's not just movement. There's a lot of health and other things that go along with their curriculum.
Yeah, and Dennis, you set me up so well because this is something I'm proud of here in Snowline, that whole child, right? I mean, we hear Member Funk talk a lot, right, about, and rightly so, and all of you support it, mental health, overall wellness, right? And we think about overall wellness as the physical side too. And so Dennis said it very well. So excited to be able to be committed to the whole child, because they don't only need brain breaks during this type of learning, they're going to need physical breaks and the mental health side too that Alan spoke to earlier. So appreciate that question, Member Hernandez.
Any other questions from the board members?
Yes, I got this question.
Mm-hmm.
Someone emailed me or texted me a question. Can you tell us what we would do? We have 5 kids at my mom's house, which means there's 18 different teachers among the 5 kids. And this person is saying how the parents will be at work. There'll be 5 kids. Basically, this is the essence of it. And I know this is a tough one. I think I asked this last time. You're going to have 5 kids in the house, both parents gone working, and the oldest student is saying, how can I make sure, how can I deal with 18 different teachers, because I'm going to have to be responsible to try to get my siblings to do their work, and I won't have time to do my work, and I'm a senior in high school. What do you tell somebody like that?
Yeah, thank you, Member Colom. I apologize if I interrupted you there. Absolutely, that's a difficult situation. I will share with you. I've got a much easier situation. I got a guy going, a child. My wife and I have our last child going to be a senior. Much easier, right, for one versus the one that you just described as 5. I will tell you, one of the very first and most important lifelines are the teachers, right? And I want to go back to what I think is one of our strengths here in Snowline. It's the notion, and it's the concept behind PLC. It's that notion of togetherness. How can we rally ourselves as a team of Snowline, right? Here's the power of that statement of together, right? To try to support each and every home as best as we possibly can. It's going to be incredibly hard. I don't have that complete answer right now, but the capacity for us as a team of, as SJUSD, the U piece, being a united school district, or unified school district, and uniting ourselves around how can we help families like that? We're going to have to try to do our best as we possibly can, because this is a challenging environment that right now we don't have all those solutions, but it's a fair question to ask. And it's something that's very fair for all of the teachers who have those students to be mindful of that as we move the cause forward, and that is educating kids. So it's not a complete answer right now. I certainly look to Dennis, Alan, Robert, and Nancy if there's anything that I left out on that right now that we could add here, but it's something that's real and something that we need to do our best to support.
It speaks to to one of the many challenges that COVID-19 presents, and we're having to work on those uniquely and individually. Not being able to do in-person learning is difficult, but we understand why we're not doing in-person learning, so that we can do in-person living for many years to come. And so we're going to make this work to the best of our abilities. But Steve, I'm sorry, even after 29 years with Snowline, I don't have an answer for that. That's a simple answer. We're going to obviously, we know our teachers, our staff are going to work with people as humanely as possible. But that is a very difficult question, and a great question. We've got to do this with head and heart.
And Dennis, thanks for saying that. Go ahead, Member Colum.
I'm just wondering if it's possible, or if you have staff available that can do class in home visitations, to go around, maybe check on some families in that situation here and there to see how they're making out.
I appreciate the idea. That's just such a challenging time. Sorry, Dennis, I know you want to speak this because you talked about this. I'll just add real quickly, we're back to COVID-19 and safety issues too, right? But Dennis, sorry, I walked over you there.
No, that's the same thing I want to say, because we have some staff asking to do those kind of things, and yet we've got to keep them safe as well. There's certain things that we want to do, but we got to say no to. And it's going to be tough. I know, Stephen, we've got, we have, special services that we're going to be doing everything we can to provide in some unique ways. But again, we've got to balance safety with education, and we're going to keep doing it. We're going to do our very, very best in that realm.
Thanks, Dennis. And I'm going to capitalize on the humanely comment, right? We always talk about being essentially human. And there was a question at the start of tonight that talked about what if, right? It was the what if the bandwidth isn't enough, or for some reason I get delayed. Therein lies, I think, the beauty of our collective that is Snowline. How can we be essentially human to help in those instances when we can, right? To ensure that we can provide for really a humane response, as Dennis said, all the while knowing, I would also say to those parents that when there are instances that we need to know about, tell us about them. So if we can accommodate, we will accommodate. That doesn't mean that we always can, but we'll certainly try. And so again, just like Dennis, it's a hard one for sure, but please let us know, because if we're not the only holders of all the information and the knowledge here. Certainly our teachers and our staff members might have some great ideas on that too. So I would encourage parents to let their teachers know the situation so that we can support them as best as possible.
That was very well said. Snowline is a very compassionate school district, and I know that we're going to do everything that we can to serve all of our students and families the best of our abilities. Are there any other comments or questions? Oh, Member Nilsson, we haven't heard from you.
Yes. First of all, I want to thank the district administrator and all the site administrators for doing all the work that they have done. I greatly appreciate this presentation. In all the years I've been around education, I have never seen anything like this. And every week it seemed to get changed. And I think we have a little bit of an idea how we're going to move forward. I've been giving this a lot of thought and a lot of prayer. And first of all, our senior administrative team is the best I've ever seen. And I've been around a lot of different school districts. The thing that I'm very, very concerned about is they're all workaholics. They're all very good people. And I'm talking about district staff, and I'm talking about site staff. And I'm going to pick on Dr. Holm because he's the top person. I hope during all this, because I'm worried about the psychological toll that's going to take upon this administrative team, I hope you take a little bit of time and be with your families. And I hope you take a little bit of time to meet their needs and also your needs. Because I know here in a couple weeks, when this thing gets real and it starts up for real, you're going to be overwhelmed. And I'm very, very concerned about that. I don't want anyone you got to get prepared for that. And you need to step back and take a little bit of time here because it's going to get overwhelming here in a few weeks. I'm really worried about that. And I'm very worried about all of our administrators. I'm worried about our teachers. I'm worried about our students. I'm worried about all the parents that are out there. And so I just want to make those comments. Take care of the mental side of this as well as making sure every T is crossed and every I is dotted. It's going to work. And we have the best staff, the best parents, the best community, the best administrators. And I just want to pull this thing off to the best of our ability. It's not going to be perfect. And I know that. But I thank you all from the bottom of my heart.
You know, Member Nielsen, I so thank you for saying that. That reminds me of, I'm just so appreciative of all that you said there. It reminds me of the notion of self-care. I'm not a good example of that. I profess to that for everyone else, and I need to be better about that. But
you need to start being the chief leader and take a little time with the family.
Very well said, right? Set that example. And I just want to capitalize on something you said there too. I think was just so well said, Member Nielsen, and that is the notion of us all together. I think we all have to remember as a collective, the Snowline learning community of 43,967 residents, or whatever that number is, it's somewhere around that we've got to go into this because I'm witness to so much great work. We've got to go into this, as I think you alluded to, with a sense of grace, a sense of compassion, of being essentially human and being understanding, because you said it so very well, Member Nielsen. It's unprecedented. And I think if we work together with mindsets, as I just mentioned, being empathetic and really understanding that we're going to get through this, but we've got to have all that you said. We got to take care of ourselves. We got to take care of one another and be all the other comments that I just mentioned that came from you. I think you're spot on, and we'll make this work in service of ultimately what's most important, our community treasures, and that's our students. So thank you for saying what you said, for sure. Very powerful.
Are there any other questions or comments from the board? I don't see any. So then thank you very much for that presentation to all of the administrators. I know that we have a lot of work ahead of us, and with the coming town hall, there's going to be more questions arising, and as time goes by, I know that we'll have more answers to provide. And again, Dr. Holman, if you would follow up on any unanswered questions that were not discussed during the presentation to those who submitted community comments. And at this time, then, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Madam President, this is Dave Nielsen. I move that we adjourn.
Very good. And a second?
I'll second.
There we go. And we'll begin with the roll call vote, beginning with Member Hernandez,
Aye.
Member Colomb,
Aye.
Member Nielsen,
Aye.
Member Funk,
Aye.
and Christina Behringer votes aye. And we are adjourned at 7:26. Thank you so much, everybody. And we'll look forward to seeing you at the town hall next Tuesday. Bye.